The air in our Capitol Hill home, usually thick with the scent of overly ambitious blue bottle coffee, the tinny beat of Ava's latest TikTok obsession, and the low rhythmic rumble of Mason's fortnight time sessions, was strangely muted. It was the quiet before a storm, though I ironically was the one who'd orchestrated the calm. It was Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. My 40th birthday was 7 days away. Ethan, my husband, managing director at North Star Capital, a man whose entire existence seemed calibrated to the pitch of the Dow Jones, leaned over me in bed, the silk of the duvet pooling around his waist. His breath smelled faintly of a high-end single malt he'd sampled during a late-night conference call. "Listen, Elle," he murmured, his voice husky, the way it only got when he was genuinely pleased with himself. "Your 40th gift? It's going to be next level." I smiled, tracing the line of his jaw. Ethan was many things driven, sometimes distant, impeccably dressed, but he wasn't a man who under-delivered on spectacle. He loved making an entrance, and he loved making times. Me times feel like the centerpiece of his meticulously curated life. "Oh, you think so?" I replied, playing along, pulling him closer. "I hope it beats the Cartier bracelet from last year." "Darling, that was amateur hour," he scoffed good-naturedly. "This is transformative." The rest of the evening unfolded like a high-budget romantic comedy reel. Ethan had secured a reservation at Canlis, a feat in itself, and the Rose's impossibly long-stemmed Ecuadorian imports were already wilting slightly under the soft light of our bedroom chandelier. Dinner was intoxicating, fueled by vintage champagne and the kind of intense, focused attention Ethan usually reserved for quarterly earnings reports. It was perhaps the most passionate night we'd shared in years. A perfect performance. Around 1:00 a.m., I drifted into a deep, contented sleep. I remember the weight of his arm settling across my waist, the rhythmic sound of his breathing beside me. Then silence. I woke abruptly, not to an alarm, but to an absence. The space beside me was cold. The digital clock on the nightstand glowed 3:47 a.m. I listened hard. No times, thump-thump times of Mason's gaming headphones. No faint, cheerful electronic music seeping from Ava's room. No mechanical hiss of the blue bottle machine warming up. Just the persistent, gentle times, tap-tap-tap times of Seattle rain against the bay window, overlooking Lake Union. I sat up, pulling the duvet around my chest. The darkness in the room felt heavy wrong. I reached across the bed, touching the cool, empty expanse where Ethan should have been. I padded downstairs in my bare feet. The house was utterly still. The lights were off, the alarm disarmed. I paused in the foyer, the polished walnut floor catching the faint glow from the streetlights outside. That's when I saw it. A faint, dark streak across the polished wood, the nearly silent scratch of expensive luggage being dragged. My breath hitched. I moved to the living room. The front door was slightly ajar, letting in the damp chill. I hurried to the wall panel where we kept the central hub for our smart home system. I tapped the screen, bringing up the feed from the exterior Ring cameras, specifically the one aimed at the driveway and front path. The screen flickered to life, showing the ghostly infrared feed from 4 hours earlier. At 4:03 a.m., Ethan had moved with a chilling efficiency. He wasn't alone. Lauren Brooks, managing director's wife, watched a silent film of her life unraveling. There was Ethan dressed in dark travel clothes, checking his watch impatiently. Beside him, a mountain of luggage, 2 sleek silver Rimowa suitcases, the ones we'd bought in Milan, and Mason's slightly battered, personalized leather backpack. They moved quickly, loaded the trunk of the silent Tesla Model S, and drove away. Quietly. No hurried goodbyes, no lingering looks. Just a calculated extraction. I scrolled through the timeline, my fingers cold against the glass. I checked the secondary AirTag alerts on the app, the ones monitoring our family's devices. My own phone thankfully remained in the kitchen drawer untouched. Mason's iPhone, the one Ethan insisted on having traceable for safety, was pinging wildly. I focused on the data stream, watching the little blue dot surge across the map of the Pacific Northwest, then hop a satellite connection. AirTag location in transit. Destination confirmed Dubai International Airport. He hadn't just left. He had evacuated. And he'd taken the kids. My 40th birthday dawned under a sky the color of slate. I was alone in our 3-story monument to success, surrounded by the suffocating quiet of the life Ethan had just meticulously packed away. The moment the Tesla's taillights vanished down the hill, something clicked inside me. It wasn't panic. It was the cold, crystalline clarity that follows a massive explosion. My first instinct, the one fueled by years of societal conditioning, was to call, to rage, to demand answers. My second instinct, honed by years of watching Ethan navigate crises with ruthless pragmatism, was to secure the perimeter. I walked back upstairs. I did not check my phone for texts or missed calls. I knew Ethan wouldn't bother with petty communication. He'd executed a clean exit. I went straight to my iPhone 16, the one he'd given me last Christmas. I opened the settings, navigated to focus, and selected a new profile I'd secretly configured last summer while he was at a corporate retreat in Aspen. Asterisk, asterisk, revenge. Asterisk. Asterisk. With a single tap, every incoming communication, calls, texts, social media pings, news alerts, was silenced. I was walled off. The world outside the house ceased to exist. Then the hunt began. I started with the obvious, his home office, a temple of mahogany and leather overlooking the city skyline. His desk was immaculate, save for a single empty space. Where his backup hard drive usually Saturday, I moved to the bedside table. His leather valet tray was neat. Wallet gone, keys gone. But Ethan, for all his competence, relied too heavily on digital trails and often forgot the analog backups. I remembered the spare key to his bottom desk drawer, a heavy antique key hidden inside an old, unused travel humidor. It was a habit from his early days at North Star, a paranoia about digital surveillance he'd apparently managed to shed when planning this exit. The lock clicked open. Inside, there were 2 items of immediate interest. First, a small matte black AirTag tracker currently inactive. He'd probably planned to use it to track my movements once they landed, ensuring I didn't immediately try to track the kids' devices. He'd forgotten to dispose of it before leaving. I slipped it into my pocket, a small, physical piece of evidence. Second, an Amex Black statement paper copy another old habit. The statements were staggering, but it wasn't the total that caught my eye. It was the pattern of smaller, precise charges over the last 2 months. A discreet suite at the Four Seasons in Seattle for 3 consecutive nights, followed by a jewelry receipt from a boutique near Bellevue Square. The boutique carried only one brand, Cartier, a specific bracelet, likely a twin piece for a companion. I gathered the physical evidence and moved to the kitchen island, powering up Ethan's rarely used iPad, the one reserved for streaming movies during long flights. It was logged into his secondary, rarely checked Apple ID. I found the Messages app, but it was clean. Ethan was too smart for iMessage drama. Then I saw the Telegram icon. My heart gave a dull thud. Telegram, the encrypted haven for secrets. It required a password I didn't have, but Ethan was predictable. He used the name of our first dog, followed by the year we bought the house. Asterisk Buster 1998. Asterisk. The app opened instantly. The conversation was recent, spanning the last 6 weeks, with a contact labeled simply asterisk, asterisk, KR asterisk, asterisk. The language was sickeningly familiar, laced with the corporate jargon Ethan used to mask intimacy times. The transition will be seamless. Your promotion is locked in post-Dubai. Can't wait to be out of this charade. Asterisk. The final message sent last night at 11:58 p.m. read times. See you on the beach, my love. 40 years well spent, darling. Now for the real life. Asterisk KR Kayla Reed. His 2 7-year-old executive assistant, the one with the disconcertingly perfect physique and a constant stream of highly filtered gym photos flooding my Instagram feed, the one he always insisted was just so good at organizing his briefs. I didn't need more. The picture was complete. The next level gift was his freedom paid for by stealing the last decade of my life and the childhood of our children. I opened my laptop and navigated to my secure encrypted Google Drive, a space Ethan never knew existed, hidden behind layers of military-grade encryption I'd learned during my brief forgotten stint as a corporate analyst before marrying. From him, I created a new folder, Ethan Exit. Piece by piece, I scanned the AirTag, the Amex bill, and the screenshots of the Telegram chats, labeling them with meticulous precision. My hands, usually prone to tremor, when stressed, were rock steady. This wasn't stress. This was activation. Just as I finished uploading the final document, a notification flashed on my phone, a temporary bypass on the focus mode, only for selected contacts. It was Ava. She'd managed to get her hands on Ethan's unlocked iPad before they left, or perhaps used a shared cloud link. She'd posted a new reel. I clicked the link, bracing myself. The video opened Ava 10 years old, shimmering under the fluorescent lights of a truly absurd infinity pool. The water looked impossibly blue. She was wearing a new, expensive-looking swimsuit. In the background, Ethan was visible laughing, holding a drink. The caption was "Sharp Times," Daddy said. "Mom needs a break from us. Number Grant Squad takes Dubai." Asterisk. The crying emoji felt like a physical slap. She thought this was a vacation. Mason, bless his oblivious little heart, was probably already playing Fortnite in a luxury hotel suite. I didn't react to Ava. I didn't respond to the caption. I simply watched the reel one more time, confirming the location metadata, then closed the app. I didn't delete the evidence. I just filed it neatly away. The silence in the house was now my sanctuary. The life of Lauren Brooks' devoted wife and mother was officially over. The next day, Wednesday, was spent in quiet preparation. I called Jasmine Patel, the sharpest, most feared divorce attorney in Seattle, a woman whose reputation preceded her like a Category 5 hurricane. "Jasmine, it's Lauren Grant. I need to see you tomorrow morning. No cancellations. I'm bringing everything." Jasmine's voice, cool and professional, cut through my carefully constructed calm. "Mrs. Grant, I heard the rumors this morning. Ethan's travel plans were abrupt. Come at 8 a.m., bring coffee. We'll need it." Rumors. So the news of his midnight departure had already leaked internally at North Star. Good. Let the water ripple before I cause the tidal wave. The real breakthrough came mid-afternoon, delivered via a secure, encrypted message link to my personal non-work email, an address Ethan would never think to monitor. The sender was Diego Morales, head of security at North Star Capital, a man whose loyalty was fiercely transactional, usually bought by the highest bidder, but who possessed a deep, almost paternal disdain for internal misconduct that threatened the firm's reputation. The link led to an AWS S3 bucket filled with 8 weeks of internal security footage, all centered on Ethan's private executive suite on the 32nd floor. I clicked play on the first clip. It was high-definition, pristine footage from a discreet camera mounted near the private soundproofed meeting area adjacent to his main office. The timestamp read 7:45 p.m. last Thursday. Kayla Reed entered. She wasn't carrying files. She was wearing yoga pants and a tight tank top. She didn't hesitate. She walked past the executive desk and right onto the Italian leather sofa, the one Ethan insisted on, having custom-made for intimate brainstorming sessions. The next few clips were edited down, showing whispers, shared laughter, and the undeniable intimacy of bodies too close. The clips ended with Kayla brushing something off Ethan's shoulder, whispering something that the microphone couldn't quite catch, but the implication was loud enough to shatter glass. The final clip, time-stamped the day before they fled, was the clincher. Kayla was leaning over him, her face alight. "The Dubai trip is perfect, Ethan. And remember, the promotion is locked in right after we get back." It wasn't just an affair. It was a conspiracy to use company resources and time for personal gain while planning an escape. I scanned every file, every relevant clip, every piece of metadata. I cross-referenced the 4 key nights from the Amex bill with the security footage. The pattern was undeniable, documented in perfect 4 kelvins clarity. I compiled it all: the video evidence, the financial paper trail, the damning telegram exchanges into one cohesive, devastating PDF file 22 pages long each page, a brick in the wall of Ethan's impending ruin. I paused, staring at the screen. This wasn't just grounds for divorce. This was grounds for professional annihilation. I was no longer seeking a fair settlement. I was seeking justice, and the only way to ensure Ethan couldn't disappear with the kids and leave me with nothing but alimony checks was to strike before he could solidify his position overseas. I leaned back, taking my first deep breath in 48 hours. The air felt cleaner. Monday morning, 8:10 a.m. I was dressed in a severe tailored charcoal suit, the kind of power armor I hadn't needed since my analyst days. Jasmine Patel had laid out the battle plan the day before strike, when the target is most vulnerable in the most public high-stakes arena. Ethan Grant was scheduled to lead the quarterly strategy and growth meeting with the entire North Star Board of Directors. The meeting was held in the 32nd floor glass-walled conference room, a fishbowl view of Seattle where every power player in the firm would be present. My timing had to be flawless. At 8:14 a.m., I logged on to my new Proton Mail account. I had set up this anonymous end-to-end encrypted address specifically for this operation. It was untraceable back to my primary accounts. I typed the subject line, ***, Code of Conduct Violation, Managing Director Ethan Grant, ***. I attached the 22-page PDF detailing the financial impropriety and the affair. Then I attached 4 strategically edited, high-impact, 90-second video clips, enough to prove the transgression without showing every damning second. At 8:15 a.m., precisely as Ethan would have been taking his seat radiating confidence beneath the fluorescent lights, I clicked Send. Target addressed board at northstarcapital.com. I leaned back, waiting for the system lag. A few minutes later, the first confirmation came through delivery receipt confirmed. The silence from my phone was deafening, but I knew the digital equivalent of screams was erupting on the 32nd floor. Board members, lawyers, and HR executives would be opening that email simultaneously, their assumptions about their MD dissolving in real time. At 9:37 a.m., I got a text notification from the service linked to the electronic badge Ethan wore. Access revoked. I walked to the front window. Even from our vantage point, across the lake, I could almost picture it Ethan mid-sentence about market projections, suddenly finding his badge wouldn't work to leave the room for a break. The polite but firm arrival of 2 suited security personnel, likely dispatched by Diego Morales, who understood the severity of reputational risk, escorting the managing director from the building. No fanfare, just quiet removal. The digital fallout was immediate. My phone remained silent, but I had preemptively set up alerts for the keywords times Ethan Grant North Star scandal, ***. Within 20 minutes, the Blind app, the anonymous professional forum where the real gossip festers, was exploding. I saw the screen grab of the Post-Times MD, caught with EA on office couch. Wife sent the tape. Number North Star nosedive. Number North Star nosedive was already trending Hesson on Seattle Twitter. And then the blowback against the mistress Kayla Reed was being doxxed. Within the hour, her private Instagram account was linked to her home address in Bellevue. Old bikini photos were circulating, and her meticulously crafted professional veneer was flaking away. My victory felt sharp clean. At 10:30 a.m., my private line rang. It was Victor Huang, the firm's COO and Ethan's closest ally. He didn't waste time on pleasantries. "Lauren, this is Victor. I'm looking at evidence that would put Ethan in federal prison if he were found to be using company funds for this. We need to talk settlement now. Sign an ironclad NDA, return the evidence, and we will restructure the terms, a very generous severance package, guaranteed college funds for the kids. We need this contained." "Contained?" I asked, my voice steady. Victor. He left me on my 40th birthday. He thought I was going to quietly liquidate assets and move to a condo in Queen Anne. What do you want, Lauren? He hissed. I want nothing from North Star Capital Victor. You can keep your severance. I paused, letting the silence stretch. And I am not returning the evidence. You are welcome to see it in discovery when my counsel files suit. I hung up. I let the clips continue to circulate. I watched as Victor's attempt to sanitize the situation collapsed. Ethan called 127 times over the next 3 hours, his number flashing red on my blocked list. I let them all go to voicemail. I didn't need to hear his excuses. I had the receipts. Tuesday morning dawned gray, but I felt a strange internal warmth. I was already moving on to the next phase, reclaiming the children. I had installed new August smart locks on every external door the previous evening, changing the codes the moment Jasmine confirmed Ethan's badge was deactivated. Around 6:00 a.m., the familiar hum of the Tesla pulled into the circular drive. I stood by the front window watching the vehicle halt. Ethan stepped out first. His face etched with exhaustion and panic, looking utterly unlike the polished executive from last week. He was wearing the same travel clothes, perhaps slightly rumpled. He tried the front door. Locked. He banged harder this time. Lauren, open the door. You have to open this door. I need to explain this to the kids. I remained silent. Then the back doors opened. Mason tumbled out, looking confused and irritable, immediately reaching for his phone. Ava followed, her face pale, clutching a small, unfamiliar plush toy. Ethan tried to explain, his voice cracking, pleading with me through the thick glass. It was a mistake. A terrible, temporary lapse. I love you all. I need to talk to them about Dubai. I walked slowly down the stairs. I didn't open the door. I didn't even unlock it. Instead, I walked to the large, recessed entertainment center, retrieved Ethan's secondary iPad, the one he'd left behind. Likely because it held nothing sensitive, and I powered it on. I brought up the video file of the sofa, the one that had cost him his career. I didn't turn the volume up loud, just enough so the sound carried through the closed door. Ava froze mid-step toward the door. Her eyes widened, not in shock, but in a dawning, horrible comprehension. She looked from the screen to her father, then back to the screen, where Kayla Reed was laughing. Daddy said Mom was boring. Ava whispered a sound so small it was almost swallowed by the rain. Ethan saw the realization hit her. His facade shattered. Ava, wait! That's not. Before he could finish the futile lie, Ava turned her back on him, walked to the door, and used the keypad to lock the exterior security system, effectively locking times in, times out. Mason, seeing his sister's reaction, instinctively ran past his father and flung himself against the glass door. I finally slid the deadbolt. The children rushed past Ethan straight into my arms. Mason buried his face in my side, sobbing about the 7-hour flight delay and the horrible hotel Wi-Fi. Ava clung to my waist, silent, her small body trembling. Ethan stood on the wet flagstones, a silhouette of utter defeat against the morning light. Lauren, please. He tried one last time. I looked at him not with hate, but with the clinical detachment of an archaeologist viewing a fossilized error. You made your choice at 4 a.m., Ethan. Go. The two children scrambled inside. I closed the door firmly, locking the heavy bolts. I heard the faint sound of Ethan's futile, pounding resume, but it was already background noise. The initial shock wore off, replaced by the grinding mechanics of war. Ethan was circling, desperate. He couldn't contact the children directly without violating the temporary restraining order. Jasmine immediately filed based on the evidence of him forcing us onto a plane. He found the weak spot, the Tesla. One Tuesday morning, as I was running errands before my first meeting with Jasmine, my iPhone chimed with an unfamiliar alert that cut through my customized focus mode ***, unknown tracker moving with you. ***. It was the exact sickening tone associated with an unauthorized AirTag in proximity. My blood ran cold. He must have tracked one of the suitcases, and seeing the tracking remained active, slipped the spare tracker into my car after the confrontation on the porch. I pulled the Tesla over immediately into the parking lot of Whole Foods in Capitol Hill. I opened the Tile app, a habit from a previous life, when I misplaced my keys constantly. There it was hidden somewhere deep within the console, likely taped under the dashboard. I didn't call the police yet. I needed him to make a mistake in the open. I pulled out my phone, opened the speakerphone function, and began recording. Seconds later, a rental car screeched to a stop beside me. Ethan lunged out his face, haggard, his tailored suit replaced by a crumpled fleece jacket. "Lauren, stop. I just needed to know you were safe. They told me you wouldn't let me talk to Mason." His voice was ragged, desperate for control. I held the phone up, recording the interaction. "You're stalking me now, Ethan. After everything, that's a violation of the TRO. I'm your husband. I just need 5 minutes with my son." I looked past him towards the back seat, where Mason was supposed to be in his car seat but was not. He was at school. "Add this to the police report," I stated flatly. Seeing the stark reality of the recording and my complete lack of emotion, Ethan seemed to deflate. That evening, the police report was filed, explicitly mentioning the discovery of the tracking device in my vehicle, constituting harassment and violation of the initial protective order. The outcome was swift. Ethan lost weekend visitation rights pending a full hearing. Mason, who had witnessed the parking lot confrontation, came home silent. Later that night, he crept into my room. Instead of asking for fortnight times time, he simply hugged me fiercely. Ava, bless her dramatic modern heart, was handling the separation poorly, but not in the way Ethan expected. She missed the extravagance, yes, but she hated being lied to more. She logged into her TikTok account. Ava had 250,000 followers, mostly centered around her aspirational life as a wealthy Pacific Northwest teen. She started a live stream from the living room, the same living room Ethan had abandoned. "Hey guys," she said, looking directly into the camera, her eyes hard. "It's been a weird month. My dad left for Dubai with my mom's money. He told everyone Mom was boring, and that's why he needed a break." She paused, letting the comments roll in. Then she tagged Ethan's rumored burner account in Dubai. "Dad, you're live watching this, I know you are. Let's talk about why you left Mom on her 40th birthday. Specifically, let's talk about the $8,000 Cartier bracelet you bought Kayla." Ethan, always addicted to the spotlight and unable to resist a direct challenge, clicked the Join Live button. Suddenly, 4,000,000 viewers were watching a raw, unscripted, multi-million-dollar corporate divorce play out in real time. "Ava, get off this stream right now." Ethan roared through his phone's microphone, his face projected onto Ava's enormous screen. "Why, Dad, afraid of the truth coming out?" Ava retorted, her voice surprisingly clear. She navigated her phone swiftly and brought up the cropped, redacted Amex receipt for the Cartier purchase, displaying it beside his angry face. "Is this why Mom was boring? Because you were too busy buying luxury goods for your 7-year-old secretary Ethan, trapped on a global platform, lashed out? You are ruining our family for clout, Ava. You don't understand the complexity of adult decisions." No, Ava shot back, channeling some deep inherited steel, asterisk. "You times ruined it when you left Mom alone on her 40th birthday. That's not complex, Dad. That's just cruel." The live stream ended when Ethan abruptly disconnected, but the damage was done. The recording was already on YouTube, and by the next morning, the clip titled "TikTok Teen vs. Cheating NYC Exec" had 3 million views. Ava lost a major sponsorship deal with a local boutique the next day. She didn't care. When she told me about it, I hugged her tightly. "You did the right thing, sweetie. We'll build better brands." Ethan's strategy shifted from damage control to active sabotage. He was realizing that surveillance and begging wouldn't work. He needed to destroy my credibility before the divorce hearing. He hired a private investigator, a desperate move that showed his dwindling resources. The PI's job was simple: Create a deep fake email supposedly from me, threatening to leak Times more. Times damaging information about North Star's internal accounting practices unless Ethan returned immediately and they presented a united front. The threat was blackmail aimed at framing me as the unhinged greedy spouse. The fake email, designed to look like it came from my personal secure server, landed in Victor Huang's inbox. It included demands for job reinstatement and a clean exit clause for Ethan. Victor panicked, seeing a way to pin the entire scandal on Times Me Times as an extortion attempt, thus mitigating the firm's exposure. But Victor hadn't accounted for Diego Morales. Diego's still grateful to me for keeping the explicit videos off the public financial wires, had been running parallel security checks. I contacted Diego the moment Victor forwarded me the suspicious email for context. Diego, this is manufactured. Look at the headers, the metadata. Diego's security team worked their magic. Within 4 hours, they had cracked the server logs used to send the email. The trail led directly to a shell company used by a known corporate espionage firm. A firm, Ethan, had used years ago for a hostile takeover bid. We had the IP address, the payment records, and the PI's contract details. I forwarded this entire package, the deepfake evidence, the PI's contract, and the server analysis directly to the FBI Cybercrime Unit Seattle Field Office. Blackmail and conspiracy to defame. This was no longer a messy divorce. This was a criminal investigation. The ultimatum from Ethan's lawyers arrived 48 hours later via Jasmine. They were terrified of federal intervention, especially given North Star's pending IPO. Ethan will sign the uncontested divorce terms, immediately forfeiting any claim to the house and future earnings contingent on you dropping the federal complaint against him and the PI. I signed the agreement within the hour. Avoiding the public disgrace of a full federal trial was worth the slight delay in absolute victory. Jasmine filed the final divorce decree in King County Superior Court. The terms were devastating for Ethan, thanks to the ironclad prenuptial agreement that Ethan had arrogantly assumed would never be tested. Because the adultery was so flagrant, and coupled with the corporate misconduct allegations which North Star settled internally to avoid federal prosecution, the terms skewed heavily in my favor. 1. Asterisk, asterisk. The house, asterisk, asterisk. Lauren retains the Capitol Hill residence outright. 2. Asterisk, asterisk, education funds. Asterisk, asterisk, Ethan forfeits. All claim to the 529 plans. 3. Asterisk, asterisk, retirement, asterisk, asterisk. Ethan only retains his personal 401k contributions prior to the affair. All matching and post-2020 contributions revert to a negotiated settlement for my emotional damages. That Thursday, an HR representative from North Star Capital called me. Victor Huang was offering me a position, Chief Ethics Officer, a newly created role designed specifically to demonstrate the firm's commitment to restoring integrity after the grant scandal. It was a hybrid role, allowing me to work from home when the kids needed me. The salary, $240,000 annually, plus stock options. I accepted immediately. Meanwhile, Ava took her final public step toward reconciliation. She deleted every single glamorous Dubai-centric reel from her feed. She posted one final video, simply featuring her face, looking directly at the camera, tears welling but not falling. "I owe my mom an apology," she said quietly. "I let vanity cloud my judgment. He played us, but Mom fought him. I'm sorry, Mom. I love you." Ethan's email reply to my acceptance of the North Star offer was predictable, a thinly veiled threat about defamation and legal repercussions. My response, drafted by Jasmine, was one line Times, "See you in Discovery." Asterisk. The final hearing at the King County Courthouse was almost anticlimactic. Ethan, looking pale and worn, his ambition replaced by hollow defeat, attempted one last desperate maneuver. "Lauren, please," he said, leaning toward me across the sterile courtroom table. 17 years, That doesn't just get tossed aside because of a temporary lapse. We have children. We can reconcile. We can try to salvage something. He reached across the table, his hand moving toward mine. I stopped him with a motion barely visible to the bailiff. I reached into my handbag and placed a small velvet-covered jewelry box onto the table between us. It contained the twin Cartier love bracelet to the one I knew Kayla Reed now wore. It was an emblem of his betrayal, not a promise of reconciliation. "No, Ethan," I said, my voice carrying clearly in the quiet room. "We can't salvage a structure built on lies. You made your choice. I made mine." I rose, leaving the box between him and the judge. I walked toward the massive courthouse doors, ignoring the shuffling of papers and the murmured instructions of the court clerk. I stepped outside. It was a rare Seattle day. The rain had stopped, and a tentative, watery sunlight was breaking through the clouds, illuminating the damp foliage of the city park across the street. It was my 41st birthday. 7:00 a.m. I was back in my kitchen, the sunlight streaming onto the new herb garden I'd planted in the small patio space. Mason was already up attempting to make Dutch baby pancakes, resulting in a smoke alarm chirp and a mess that Ava was currently trying to manage with exaggerated theatricality. I opened my laptop. I hadn't been idle during the past 6 months of litigation. I had been documenting everything for my own purposes. I opened my new Substack newsletter, a platform I'd set up 2 months prior designed for long-form narrative journalism, a way to utilize the analytical skills Ethan had always mocked as unsexy. The first post was titled, ***, How I Used My Husband's AirTag to Track His Affair. A thread, ***. I uploaded the essential, non-litigious evidence, a blurred photo of the Rimowa bags, leaving at 4 a.m., a highly redacted image of the Amex bill showing the Four Seasons charges, and a close-up photo of the small black AirTag tracker I'd found in my car console. I hit publish. Then I attached the paywall, $5 a month. The response was instantaneous and overwhelming. By 9:00 a.m., my Substack analytics were screaming 1,000,000 subscribers in 6 hours. The story was viral, resonating not just as celebrity gossip, but as a blueprint for betrayed women everywhere. At noon, my email pinged with a recognized sender address. Netflix Content Acquisitions. Dear Miss Grant, we have been following the developments surrounding the North Star case and are captivated by the narrative control you have maintained. We believe this is a potent, timely story. We are prepared to offer a term sheet for an 8-episode limited series based on your experiences. Name your price. In the background, I heard Ava shriek with delight. She held up her phone, already recording. She was doing a duet of my Substack headline. "My mom's the main character now," she announced to her followers. I closed the Netflix email draft, ready to negotiate a figure that would secure my children's futures 10 times over. In the kitchen, Mason finally managed to flip his pancake. It landed slightly charred on the edges, but perfectly puffed. Ava brought me a gift. A pair of new Nike Air Force 1 which she had painstakingly decorated by hand with abstract, chaotic designs. "They're Mom, 2 edition," she explained, beaming. I looked around the kitchen. The sunlight felt warm, real. The air smelled faintly of burnt sugar, not stale blue bottle ambition. I sat down at the island, opened the Substack document one last time, and added the final sentence to my concluding thoughts. ***. He thought boring was an insult. I made it my brand. ***. I signed the Netflix term sheet right there on the scarred butcher block counter, amidst the sounds of my children's laughter and the promise of a future entirely of my own making.